Okay, so this is the first of my videos that I'm making to demonstrate how to use sim controls in Second Life. The program that I'm using is called Joy2Key, and at the moment I have several devices configured. There is this joystick here, which, as you can see, it does actually move my avatar. So the joystick is mapped to the directional motion keys. This is up arrow, down arrow, left and right. And the pedals are mapped currently to holding down the left mouse button and right or left. It's not very useful for avatar walking, but it is quite useful for operating a rudder in an aircraft. The other thing that I have is this loop deck here, which doesn't use Joy2Key, but it does have a number of available features, mainly having to do with scrolling and moving things up and down. So it is able to move an avatar using these knobs, and that's just using the regular loop deck software, so I don't have to use Joy2Key for that. It will also help zoom in, and it will go into mouse look like that. So I've mapped, instead of using the throttle, unfortunately, because Joy2Key doesn't work very well with throttle axes, I've had to map a push switch, which is here where my thumb is, to page up if I push it up, and page down if I push it down, which work for throttle, as well as other buttons. I have this finger here set to I think it's R for rockets. My pinky finger is set to M, which changes to and from mouse look, and this one over here is B, which is good for dropping bombs. Additionally, I've also got Joy2Key mapped to my brake pedal, so if I hold on my brakes, I don't know if you can see, but like that, then it says BR, which is the standard command to release or hold your parking brakes in an aircraft. And I think that's just about all of the buttons I have mapped here. But it's all using either just the loop deck system, or it's using Joy2Key, which is a shareware app. You can have different profiles. So for instance, Suregood, they don't use the same mapping for the anti-torque pedal, so you can have a separate control for those, and then my anti-torque pedals will actually work whether I'm in mouse look or not. Anyway, I'm going to try to demonstrate this with a short flight. So let's bring out a an airplane here. So I'm going to use the Falcon, and we'll just put the plane here. And if I use again this This control here puts me in a mouse look where I can then make my adjustments. Okay, that's good looking. And we'll start up the plane. One of the nice things about the loop deck is you can set it to have whatever buttons you want, and I have this one set for various aircraft controls. Okay, so I'm pretty sure the plane is all set now, and let's just let's see if we got our radar. Okay. Alright, so we're just going to fly around, and then we'll come back in for a landing using all of the controls that we have here. So I have this set to flaps, and if I keep pressing it, it just cycles through. And one of the things that's a little bit annoying is that when you use M to go in and out of mouse look, sometimes it just types M in the chat instead. Anyway, so the first thing we're going to do is take our parking brake off, and that sort of put us in a forward motion, but hopefully we can still deal with it. But I like to steer with my feet when I'm on the ground, so I can actually steer as if I was in Flight Simulator now by using my pedals. It's the same as the right and left motion when we're on the ground. But when we're in the air, it should, in theory, just be operating a rudder, at least when we're in mouse look. Okay, let's line up here with the parking brakes. Let's make sure we check everything, get our lighting on here, strobe lights on, landing lights on. And I think we're ready to go. So I use this thumb for my throttle. I keep reaching for my throttle because I'm used to it, but it doesn't do anything. Alright, let's release the brakes, throttle it up to 100%, and rotate. Okay, press G. We'll cycle through the flaps to flap 0, and we'll immediately throttle back to about 60%. So now you can see it actually flies pretty good. Just like any other sim plane. The only real issue is that there is a little bit of lag, which is why I don't like to use this for a fighter. It just doesn't really work for a fighter. You need faster response, and see if I go to these keys, it's just a little bit faster. But this feels much better to me, so I much prefer to use this stuff. So now the rudder is mapped to, basically you hold down the mouse and then you do your right and left, and so that's what I have my pedals set to. So if I want to, say, put it into a bank, I use the stick. But what I've noticed, and this is still obviously work in progress, sometimes Joy2Key will freeze a setting. So right now it's actually acting as if I'm continuously holding my mouse down. So what I have to do is I press my trigger button, the gun trigger, and that releases it. The gun trigger is set to the left mouse click. So if I throw it into a bank and then use my my rudder, it tightens everything up. Unfortunately, I haven't yet figured out how to get it to do the trim properly with this particular aircraft. It tends to get a little confused with the trim. So I have to kind of do like first set a bank, you know, I set a bank and then center it and then use the throttle. And then if I need to pull up, I kind of do it one bit at a time. So it doesn't fly like a real plane. I kind of think that this is more like flying a giant old flying boat, where all of your yeah, see, this is what happens when I pull the stick and rudder at the same time. If you're flying an old giant flying boat, you'll see videos of that where people are using these old no hydraulic. I put the gear down. Just fully manually controls with a gigantic aircraft, and they make huge adjustments. And that's kind of how I like to fly in Second Life, using this setup, because it really kind of lends itself well to that type of aggressive motion. Once you get used to it, it actually works pretty well. Alright, so now we have our gear down. I pressed it a couple extra times, so let's try to keep from stalling. Alright, flaps 40. And we'll just reduce the throttle a little bit. This is where it really comes in handy, having the rudder pedals. So you might wonder, well, what would it be like if you could actually just move your head instead of having to use the mouse for mouse? Well, because I do, or sort of come from a sim background, I have that too. And it's not Joy2Key, but a separate program called MillMouse. This is MillMouse. And what MillMouse does is it changes your eye motions to mouse motions. Or, well, it should anyway. Well, mine's not working anymore. Okay, well, we'll just leave that off then. No more mill mouse. So let's have a look at the helicopter. With this one, I have to use a slightly different arrangement for the pedals, so Joysticks is, I just make this one switch and then it works. Okay, here we are inside the helicopter, and let's just start. So the nice thing about this is, you can see my anti-torque pedals will work whether I'm inside or outside. It's the same, which I think is pretty nice. I know MLT is supposed to work in the cockpit, but it doesn't work to get the GPS system working. So for that, I need to just get out of mouse look. For this helicopter, I do have a whole bunch of different things set up on the loop deck. So this is AP takeoff, and it's one of the things I really like about it. The Suregood system allows you to use a chat command which just nudges it up by whatever amount you want. So I've mapped it to this rotary controller, so every time I turn it once, it's 20 more feet of altitude. If I turn it the other way, it will go down by 20 feet in altitude. So right now the altitude bug, it's that little yellow bug that you see on the PFD and on the HUD. It will sort of follow what I'm doing with the knob, and this is kind of like what it is with the simulator. I can also set a heading. And what that does when you're just in hover mode is to slowly rotate the helicopter, which is pretty nice. I have it set to just do a 5-degree nudge, which seems a little excessive, but anyway, if I put it out of auto, then you can kind of see how this works using pedals. So if I want to change my torque, I can't really do it like a normal helicopter. I have to do it in little bumps. So I kind of bump it one way or the other. So I find a good setting with my feet, and then I can use my collective and cyclic controls. The collective, of course, is that thumb that we were talking about before, because I can't use this. But works pretty well, I think, for the helicopter. But to be honest, I mostly use automatics when I fly this thing. So if I want to just turn this around a little bit, I kind of have to, it doesn't auto-center, which is what a collective would do if you had one, in, you know, a real one. You have to sort of center it back yourself in order to make use of the joystick correctly. And you see it kind of overcorrects a little bit. But after you get used to it, it's not too bad. And we'll just lower ourselves a little bit. Now if I want to go into AP hover, just press that button. It was right into auto hover, and I don't think we're exactly in the right spot, but should be close. So if I put on AP land, then it should just automatically land us, but I can kind of nudge things over with the controls. So I'm just going to kind of do that. And that's it. That's how you use joystick control in Secondlife. So, of course, you can map things like stop and lights and whatever. There's all sorts of things that you can map using an external device that will do text and combination of text and keyboard shortcuts and that sort of thing. And that's pretty much what we're doing with Joysticks. It has a series of clicks and keyboard shortcuts and text and stuff like that mapped to various motions within these controllers. And that's all it really does. So we're still using that binary system of on-off that we have for all sorts of controls in Secondlife, but it does feel a lot more like the real thing. At least I think it does.